A very good morning, folks, and welcome to week number 15 of this marathon trial of former Minister of Petroleum, Diezani, Alisi Madueke, Olatimbo Ayide, and Bishop Doye Game, the brother of the former minister. This is week 15, as I mentioned. This week, let me tell you what happened on Friday. This week on Friday, I was there. I told you jury might be out in about 2 weeks from Friday. On Friday, the defense for Olatimbo Ayinde, they closed their case. They finished their submission on Friday. So when they finished their submission, shortly after, by 11:45, we were out of court. The judge sent the jury on holiday. That's been part of the timetable of this long trial, for the jury to go on holiday because it's been a long time. Remember, they started January 19 or January 26 rather. So it's been part of it that to give them some time to go and freshen up, to go put their feet up. So the jury was sent on holiday. The judge told them, I'll see you on May 11th, which is next Monday. Yesterday was bank holiday for those of you not in the UK. So there was no court yesterday. Today, throughout this week, from today to Friday, the court is in session, but only the lawyers and the judge are the people that you're going to see a sort of grand court. Of course, the other parties, the Diezani and the other people, they might come in if they so choose, but they are not required. But the people who are going to be in this court are going to be the lawyers, the prosecution lawyer, the crown prosecutors, the defense lawyers for all the three, for Diezani, for Olatimbo Ayinde, and for Bishop. So those are the lawyers and the judge. The judge too is not on holiday. What are they going to be doing? That is the interesting part. On Friday, before the judge sent the jury on that 1 week holiday, he told them, look, go on holiday, go and relax for the next 1 week. So throughout this week, the jurors are on holiday. They've not been sent out yet, but it's been built into the timeline, the timetable of this trial, that they should be on holiday for this week because it's been a long one. If this was a football match, this is like 78 minutes of 90 minutes. So, but what will the lawyers be doing? Now, throughout this week, the lawyers, let me say that each of the lawyers, they are very passionate about the people they are representing. The crown prosecutors, they are really, 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 there is a fierce battle. Everybody is fiercely defending their territory, their client. The government lawyers, the crown prosecutors, they are really, really fiercely defending the government domain. They really want to get a conviction. Remember, that's what prosecutors do. So you're going to see, probably you might hear a lot of sound. The Tower Bridge is just around the corner here, so tourists are always around there. There's a group of tourists, going probably on sightseeing. It's a beautiful weather, by the way. So anyway, so the crown prosecutors, they will want, you remember, the judge told them at the beginning of this trial, it is yours to prove that this case is beyond reasonable doubt, that the defendants, they don't have to do anything, they don't have to deny anything, but you, the crown, for bringing this case to trial, you must prove. And before Diezani's lawyer before our team, before they closed their submission over a week ago, the defense lawyer, Jonathan Laidlaw, talked about the burden of proof is on the crown. So what the lawyers will be doing this week from today, while the jurors are on holiday for 1 week, is that they will be fighting. I mean, when I say fighting, I mean they will be discussing among themselves which sections of the law, bribery law, to be used in closing this case. Those are the arguments that they'll be going on, that'll be going on from around 11. It's not an open court, of course. I'll be going in, I can go in. The defendants, they are free to come in, but I don't know whether they are going to take up the opportunity, because it's going from now, it is tense. And the judge said on Friday before we left, he said, look, the evidence section of this trial is finished. No more evidence. Nobody can submit any more evidence. The evidence part of this trial is finished. So why the judge, and the judge is just around the corner, the judge is going to be in court, summing up our own notes, but the defense and the prosecution, they are going to be discussing which sections of the Bribery Act should be invoked. If they don't agree, they will call the judge in, the judge will make a ruling. So that is what is going to be happening all through this week. It's going to be interesting, because I've seen throughout this trial, the lawyers, they are really, 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 the battle line has been drawn. And this was even still evident on Friday, and all through the Crown prosecution, they don't want to concede anything. The lawyers for Diezani, for Bishop, and for Latimbo and as well, they don't want to concede. So it's going to be real legal battle inside there, so that by the time we come back, when the court resumes for open court on Monday, everything that the judge is going to use in giving direction to the jury, this is when they're going to agree. That is what they're going to be doing. The judge is going to be around in the court, like I said, but she's not going to interfere. They are going to have to agree, just like we have agreed facts. They are going to agree among, for instance, Olatimbo didn't give evidence. It's going to be, they have to argue whether that can be used against her, whether the jurors can make an inference. Bishop Agame didn't give evidence also. These are some of the things which the lawyers will be arguing. Remember, of course, Diezani gave evidence. She was in the witness box for 2 weeks, 2 weeks and 1 day. So those are the sort of things, but that the lawyers will be trashing out. And like I said, where there is no compromise, they will call the judge in. The judge is then going to give direction, because when we come back on Monday, when the jurors come back on Monday, it is going to be closing speeches. It's going to be closing speeches, and then the judge will give legal direction to the jurors after that. So by Monday, when we come back, closing speeches from the three sides of the bench, actually from the four sides rather, but throughout this week, this is where the battle is going to be, because they must then agree. Whatever they agree, those are the things that the judge is going to use in giving legal direction when she's doing a summing up for the juror. So from today until Friday, you're not going to see the defendant. It's not an open court, of course. They can come in, but their lawyers, they are seriously going to be fighting, legally, technically, to be saying this law should be applicable, this is what should be applicable, and those are the things, as it were, that will tie the hand of the judge in giving direction to the jury. So it's going to be fascinating inside there. And of course, remember, when we then come back on Monday, when the jurors come back on Monday, closing speeches, I don't know, each one might take 1 or 2 days, but they're going to be making their closing speeches. The Crown will make their closing speech. The defense for Diezani will give their closing speech. The defense for or bishop will give their closing speech. The defense for Olatimbo and they will give their closing speech. For instance, they're going to be arguing because our client did not give evidence, that should not be used against him or her. So those are the sort of things we're going to be seeing. And also where damage had been done, where damage had been done in the evidence parts, each of the lawyers will try to repair those damages when we come back next week. Also, I mentioned, why did the EFCC get involved? The Crown prosecution, Olatimbo and these lawyers, sometimes last month they submitted a lawyer from the Department of State Security to say that Olatimbo and was a whistleblower for DSS, for EFCC. The Crown, these were made known on Friday in their great part. Of course, we had known, but we were not allowed to report on it before today, before Friday. So DSS, Crown prosecution said, look, we need a letter. We don't just want to take the letter, the word of the defense for it that Olatimbo he was a whistleblower in 2015. So DSS had to write through the EFCC. And that was why an EFCC investigator was sent here last week to come and be a defense witness. So those are the sort of things that the Crown does not want to consider, despite that letter from DSS to say, look, Olatimbo was not a suspect when she reported. Remember when she said when Femi Otedola was harassing her, she played along, she reported the matter, and when Jimobi or Kachiku was asking her for that bribe of 1.3 billion naira, that she had reported the matter to an EFCC chieftain in 2015, and she was asked to play along. So when the letter then came, when it was brought to the attention of Crown prosecution to say, look, Olatimbo was not being investigated by EFCC, but rather she was whistleblowing on what was happening, corrupt practices in the oil industry. Crown prosecution said no, except we see a letter from DSS, except we see a letter from EFCC, we are not going to take your word for it. So that was why EFCC sent somebody here last week. So, but now there's no more evidence. The evidence section of this trial closed on Friday. And like I said, George sent the jurors on holiday. That has been part of the timetable, that the jurors will go on holiday this week. So the jurors are on holiday now. They're putting their feet up because they've been sitting since, even though they had that 2-week trial. Also, they've been sitting since January. So now they're having this week to relax. And when they come back on Monday, that will be the last stretch of this case. So I'll see you on Monday. Right now, this case is reaching the very, very interesting part. And like I said, we're probably just about 2 weeks away from now. And it depends on how the closing speeches go from Monday and how the judge might take long. It might take 1 or 2 days or longer to do a summing up. It is after, so this is going to be the chronology when we come back on Monday. Closing speeches by the Crown, closing speeches by defense, the 3 defense lawyers, and then the judge will sum up. The judge will then give direction to the jurors. It is after that that the jurors will then be sent out. So the timeline, the clock will start to tick from Monday when we come back. For now, jurors are on holiday. They are having a good time to clear their head. And the judge told them before they left, before sending them away on Friday, remember, don't research this case. Don't check it online. You're going to decide it on what I tell you, the direction I give you, and also on the evidence that have been presented. But evidence is over. So it's going to be on the closing speeches and on the direction that the judge is going to give when we come back. So there it is for now from Southern Crown Court. I'll see you on Monday when the jurors come back for the home stretch of this marathon trial. Take care of yourselves.